Boys, it's Chinned. I am a day fucking late, but whatever. We got UFC Fight Night Sterling versus Yusuf Zalal going on this weekend. It's low-key a sleeper good card. It's not like the best thing I've ever seen, but there are some pretty interesting fights. Some really good fighters, streaking fighters. Alexander Hernandez on a really nice win streak. Luna Martinetti, really interesting coming off of that Contender Series win. Barcelos, not bad. Not bad at all. Obviously, Zalal is on a hot streak, and Aljo's the biggest test of his career, arguably. So, should be a lot of fun. Starting with Julia Pilastri versus Talita Alensar. Picking Julia Pilastri by decision. Nothing much to say about that one. Moving on, Max Griffin versus Victor Valenzuela. I don't think Max Griffin's very good, honestly, and he's old as shit. Hasn't looked good in his recent fights. I just don't understand why this fight is close to even. I'm picking Victor Valenzuela by KO, TKO, probably. Jafel Filio versus Cody Durden. Should be a high-action fight. This is Cody Durden coming in on short notice as of maybe yesterday, 2 days ago. I think Filio is going to sub him pretty easily. I don't really think Cody Durden's that good. He's scrappy, but he does the bare minimum to make it scrappy. He never actually ends up winning those types of fights. It's going to be Jafel Filio, probably by submission in round 1 or 2. Mayra Bueno Silva versus Michelle Montague. Michelle Montague is actually a good women's fighter, and Mayra Bueno Silva is someone who has had one of the craziest fall-offs in the history of women's MMA. She fought for a title and hasn't won since, I believe. Crazy, and she just looks like shit every fight. I'm picking Michelle Montague by decision. I know that she's a big submission grappler, but I just don't see her getting a submission on somebody as good on the ground as Bueno Silva. I could see her dominating her on the ground, maybe getting some near subs, but I'm thinking it's a decision for Montague. Moving on, Cedricus Dumas versus Jackson McVeigh. This is an kind of exciting fight. I was about to say it was an interesting fight, but it's not really, because it's Cedricus Dumas. He fucking sucks. But Jackson McVeigh is actually fun to watch. I enjoy watching him. I'm picking him to win this fight probably by... It's going to be a finish. It's a bit 50-50 with Dumas, because he gives up after he gets hit sometimes, and he could just go for the sub. There's a lot of subs on this card so far, though, so I'll say Jackson McVeigh by TKO in round 2. Yeah. It's a Dumas fight. Adolfo Vieira versus Eric McConico. Eric McConico is one of the worst signed fighters to the UFC right now, in my opinion. And I think Adolfo Vieira is just going to steamroll him. Whether that is by TKO on the feet, because he's actually showing major improvements in his striking over his last, couple of years of fighting. Or it's going to, he'll drop him, or he'll even take him down and sub him. The problem with Vieira is he doesn't have good takedowns whatsoever. And that's a problem that most jiu-jitsu guys have. It's a problem that I'll be going over in the next fight here, Marcus Buchecha. These guys are some of the best grapplers in the world, but they don't know how to fucking hit a double leg. It's crazy. And a guy as large as Vieira and Buchecha as well, not knowing how to take people down is crazy. But that's just how jiu-jitsu is. Not everybody can be Charles Oliveira. I just think Vieira's striking has improved so much, and McConico is such a glass chin can. I think Vieira's just gonna be able to catch him on the feet and put him away. I know I'm picking primarily finishes here, but these are all cans. Most of these fighters are cans so far. Adolfo Vieira, I'm gonna say TKO. Round 1. Marcus Buchecha versus Ryan Spann. I'm split on this fight, because obviously the right answer here is Ryan Spann, because Buchecha has just looked like shit. But there's just no way that Buchecha can keep going like this in the heavyweight division without at least getting somebody down. It's crazy. But, he's gonna look like shit in the first round, but he's gonna win it, and then he's gonna gas, and then he's just gonna fucking lose. But I'm rooting for Buchecha because I like him. But I'm picking Ryan Spann by round 3 TKO. No, honestly, Ryan Spann by decision. I want Buchecha to win, so I'd be happy if he wins. And I hate Ryan Spann. He's such a bitch for some reason. I don't know. He's just so unlikable. Ryan Spann decision. Montel Jackson versus Ione Barcelos. These odds are so weird to me, because I think Montel Jackson is one of the most gun-shy just like low-key fraudulent fighters in the rankings right now. I think Ione Barcelos has shown all of the tools throughout his win streak that he's currently on that you need to beat a guy like Montel Jackson. I think exactly what Figgy did to Montel Jackson, Ione Barcelos can do, just with, a tad bit less power. Obviously, he doesn't have the hands of Figgy, but he's got the IQ of a guy like Figgy. He's got the grappling. I like Ione Barcelos pretty comfortably here. Probably to win a decision. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets like a late submission or something, because Montel Jackson does slow down. But yeah, it's Ione Barcelos' decision to me. Moving on, Davy Grant and Adrian Luna Martinetti. This fight's fucking sick. This is arguably the best fight on the card other than the main event. Davy Grant obviously is coming off of one of his first finish losses in a while to Charles Jourdain. But that's not a loss, that's aging well. Charles Jourdain is looking like a future top 10 guy in this division. Martinetti, he's just a fucking dog. He's a dog, fairly technical striker, incredible chin, really, really, really good power. He's got really good knees and kicks. And his fight against Vologden on the Contender Series is arguably the greatest fight of all time. I would argue that right now it's probably Hokutin Blades, or at least that is definitely a top 3 fight. But Martinetti versus Vologden on the Contender Series, I believe it's uploaded for free just to watch on YouTube. It's insane. Martinetti's just insane. He's a really good fighter. I'm completely surprised by these odds here. I'm picking Martinetti by round 1, round 2 TKO. I know Davy Grant is tough, but he's getting old in his career. He's starting to get dropped a lot more. He's starting to get finished. I'm picking Martinetti to take him out. I'm really surprised by the odds there. Rafa Garcia versus Alexander Hernandez. Another fight. I'm surprised by the odds here. I think Hernandez should be a massive favorite in this fight. Minus 170 is too little. I get that Rafa Garcia, he's got experience. He's well-rounded. He's kind of hard to put away. He's a good fighter. But Hernandez is on a career run right now that's rivaling the one that he was on in the beginning when he knocked out Beneil Dariush and got stopped by Cowboy. I mean, he's knocking out everybody. And he has that type of power. And when he is on, I think he's one of the more inconsistent fighters in UFC lightweight history. But when he's on, he is absolutely a top 10 level fighter. And I don't think a guy like Rafa Garcia is going to be able to beat him. I even think that this is a step down from Chase Hooper, if you ask me. I'm picking Hernandez by KO in round 2. I mean, I understand I'm picking a lot of finishes, but this is like a finish-heavy card, if you ask me. Moving on, why is this the co-main event? Jocelyn Edwards versus Norma Dumont. I'm picking Norma Dumont by decision. Jocelyn Edwards has been looking pretty good. She's been finishing everybody. But Norma Dumont is kind of unfinishable. She's like pretty rangy as well. She's I think she's gonna win. She's got like a nice distance management striking style. It's probably gonna be a boring fight. I'm picking Norma Dumont by decision. Moving on, Aljamain Sterling versus Youssef Zalal. What a fight. It's one of the best fights booked right now, if you ask me, matchup-wise. It's so interesting, though. Like, the matchup, the style matchup. Youssef Zalal is on a fucking roll right now. Compared to his original UFC run, where he was kind of getting, beaten up, taken down every once in a while, just outranged in his fights, outstruck in his fights. He's not really going for it as much as he should. He's having not competitive fights, but he's one of the only people who's brought Ilya to a decision in the UFC, which is impressive. And that goes to show the chin on Zalal. Obviously, that won't be in play against a guy like Sterling, who has no chance of chinning him. But he's shown really good skills in the UFC in this current run that he's on. He's finishing people, he's subbing people, he's showing massive improvements in the grappling. And his striking is very, it's almost like an Aljamain Sterling striking style, in a sense that, like, it's very, switch stances every once in a while, like create distance, throw some wacky strikes from wacky angles. It's a little bit more cleaned up compared to a guy like Aljo's, but it's very similar in a sense that it's very unique. And in this division, it's working against most people, just like it has for Aljo. I see a lot of people picking Zalal by canceling out the grappling and just winning on the feet. I think that's crazy. I think Aljo is one of the greatest grapplers the lower weight classes have ever seen in the history of MMA. And Zalal is going to struggle against that. I definitely think that Zalal has the power advantage, but I don't think Zalal has the technique to catch a guy like Sterling on the feet regardless. Aljo's got some of the better head movement in this division. He's just also impossible to catch. And Zalal is no Sean O'Malley. You know, Sean O'Malley has some of the best striking in bantamweight history. And I get that by looking at the fight, you can be like, oh, well, Zalal's probably going to catch him too because he has big power. But the style, it doesn't add up. I don't think Zalal is going to be able to catch Sterling. And I think that's really his only chance of winning this fight because I see this being a dominant showing from Aljo on the ground, with Zalal pretty much halfway through the fight knowing, okay, I probably need a finish to get this one out. Aljo is just a better fighter. And I get that he's aging and Zalal's on a run and he's in his prime and he's young. But Aljo is one of those like ageless fighters. And a lot of these grapplers show this in their careers. Age, being out of your prime doesn't matter nearly as much. You'll win more fights down the line if your base is a grappling base as compared to a striking base. Look at a guy like Charles Oliveira compared to a guy like Max Holloway. It's a perfect example. Wrestling gets you farther out of your prime than striking does. And I think Aljamain Sterling is just going to be able to take him down at will. Maybe he'll struggle in the beginning round or something because Zalal has crazy good starts in his fights. He's a very energetic fighter as well with a great gas tank. But once Aljo kind of, starts feeling his stride, he's able to get in, get out whenever he wants, get that nice double leg, get a single leg. I think it's no problem. I think the strength difference is major. I think Sterling's going to be able to drag him down and drown him. Maybe it's going to be boring and he holds him up against the fence because he can't exactly hold him down, but I think he'll always be able to take hold of him and just win rounds and win a decision. That's not incredibly impressive. But canceling out a guy like Zalal, it can be boring because he's kind of good at everything. It's going to be impressive to me, at least, if Sterling's able to beat him, regardless of how boring it is. But yeah, I'm picking Aljo by decision, 48-47 probably, or 49-46. I see the opening round being tough for him. Maybe Zalal's hitting him with some nice leg kicks, some jabs, maybe even a big one too. But Aljo's, he's going to weather that. He usually does. He's going to go in. He's going to go for some double legs, some single legs, just try and take him down. Maybe holds him up against the fence. Loses the first round. Second round on, he just starts being able to get to him a lot easier. Takes him down, dominates him. Maybe finds a late sub, but I don't know. Zalal's pretty unfinishable. I'm picking Aljamain Sterling by decision. Yeah, it's a great fight. I'm really excited for it. The card's not disgusting. It's not the best either, but there are some interesting fights on here, so at the very least. I just don't know why they have to fuck the momentum up with a women's co-main. But I guess Jocelyn Edwards has been very exciting, so that's fine. That's a wrap. UFC Fight Night Sterling versus Zalal. Yeah. Thank you guys for watching. I make picks every single Sunday, and I make instant reactions after every single card ends, within an hour of it ending. I try to be on top of it. Obviously, I'm a day late for this one, but who cares? I have 19 subs. Doesn't fucking matter. Yeah, this has been Chin. Thank you guys for watching. See you in the next one.